What's going on there, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boy oh boy, every single day that goes by, I can't believe what I'm witnessing. Because seriously, a lot of the time, when information like this comes to surface, it's from leaks, sources. But the amount of stuff that's been coming from actual developers themselves around Black Ops 7, I can't believe the things that they have been saying. And truthfully, after hearing all of this stuff, and you go back and listen to my previous video as well. I mean, seriously, we are on a interesting path. They are going down the road of Infinity Ward, and seriously, we are going to be down to just one singular development team, Sledgehammer Games, when it comes to a team that is really working around the community. But ladies and gentlemen, I actually saw a post. I believe the source was comicbook.com. Again, I'll leave a link to the overall post down in the description of this video. But they went ahead and had a little bit of an interview with one of the developers working on Black Ops 7, and they had a little something to say about the Pick 10 system. And my God, I don't think a lot of you guys are going to like what you see. Pick 10 is a debate we have every single game, and some people on my team just want us to do it so bad, said Scrons. We talk about it all. We haven't went back to it yet, because I'm not convinced it's better. I think there's an argument to be made that there's trade-offs. But at the same time, now I have to put a little bit more thought into my loadout creation. I have to do a little bit of math, and if I'm thinking about all the players who play our game and how it is right now, where I just go in and just click, 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 and I fill up slots, right? It's very easy to do. Now, that's not to say we'll never revisit that concept of Pick 10, but I think where we're at right now, we're doing exactly what makes perfect sense for Black Ops 7. I'm not going to lie to you guys, this one hurt a little bit. Pick 10 is something that, honestly, I'm going to be real, it belongs in Call of Duty. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of games are picking up the quote-unquote Gunsmith system where, you can go ahead and completely deck out your gun and make it look insane. And it fits in other games, but in Call of Duty, the trade-offs of the Pick 10 system is what made the game so freaking engaging. And to hear that there's so many people on the team with every single introduction that they do within the Black Ops universe, and they're all begging to bring back Pick 10, and they always get rejected because of management, that kills me. And it continues to prove that a lot of the issues when it comes down to COD is not the people working behind it, but the heads, the ones who basically control all the things that are introduced within the game. They are the ones that are dictating all of these decisions, no matter what the core developers want for the overall Call of Duty franchise. And I cannot believe that one of the head devs is saying that Pick 10 just hasn't proved itself. I mean, you haven't even reintroduced it to see if it can prove itself against the Gunsmith. It hasn't even had a chance. The last time that we had anything that was, anywhere close to Pick 10 was Black Ops 4. And after that point, Modern Warfare 2019 moving up to current date, it's always been Gunsmith. So how? That's my main question here. How can you possibly tell if Gunsmith is better than Pick 10? If you haven't even bothered going back to Pick 10 and seeing if the community would prefer it. Gunsmith, it was cool at first, I'm not going to lie. It was an interesting concept to go ahead and introduce into Call of Duty. When I always talk about good, innovation for the franchise, I think of Gunsmith of something like that, right? That was a cool innovation. It was a good innovation for a while. But sticking to only Gunsmith forever is like the same thing as sticking to only jetpacks every single year. The Pick 10 system should be at least at the minimum, transferred every other year, every couple of years. At least reintroduce it sometime to add that mix back into COD, because Pick 10 introduced a whole different vibe to the creativity of your classes. Let's be real here. Gunsmith is nothing special. It literally always boils down to the same exact attachments per every single build. And there's no pro and con, play when it comes down to the Gunsmith system, which is, amazing with Pick 10 because there's tons of, pros and cons to every single set of attachments you put on your gun. But when it comes down to the Gunsmith, all it does is just slow you down. You could deck out your gun every single time. There's absolutely nobody out there who's running a gun with 1 to 2 attachments. Everybody's going to deck it out, and every single gun just has a reduction when it comes to ADS speed and also sprint to fire speeds. And yeah, some attachments might, reduce some recoil here or add some more recoil there and other things. But the moral of the story is that it always boils down to the same thing. So nobody cares. All you know is that it's going to end up with slower ADS, slower sprint to fire speeds, and that's it. There's no play with it. So as I stated, it was fun at first, and it was cool to see, and, it was exciting to deck out a bunch of COD guns and put a ton of attachments on them and just make them look sick. Yeah, it's cool, it's fun. But it doesn't have the same play as Pick 10. Pick 10 brings so much more to the table because you don't have those negative cons when you put on attachments. It's pretty much all pros. But that's the thing. You can't have 50,000 attachments per gun. You have to think about what you want to choose. You could run a class with no grenades, no tacticals, less perks, and load up on attachments on your weapon and run 5+ attachments. Or you can have less attachments, 1 to 2 attachments, load up on grenades, tacticals, or you can even just have barely any attachments, no grenade tacticals, and just extra perks. There's so many ways to go ahead and play, and when you deck out your gun, you actually deck it out in a way that makes logical sense. Again, when it comes to Gunsmith, every gun boils down to the same exact thing. Everybody just tries to deck out each gun to shoot in a straight line and give you a good enough ADS speed / sprint to fire speed. That's it. That's all you look for. But in Pick 10, like I said, there's not many cons to anything. So if you want an extended mag, pick an extended mag. But you might miss out on putting on a red dot. You might miss out on putting on a grip. You might miss out putting on a laser. What if you want to up close and personal class? You can put on a laser, but you might miss out on having a grip for long range. You might miss out on having an extended mag. What if you want to have something for long range? You could put a scope and maybe a long barrel on, but at the same time, you might not be able to have rapid fire to shoot faster, or you might not have. You see what I'm saying here? There's no cons, but because you can only have a set amount of things, you have to think hard about how you're going to set up your classes, and that is fun. It's engaging. It has always been a part of what, Call of Duty is all about. Call of Duty kind of grew into that, and it's just always been a part of Call of Duty ever since. And again, not hating the Gunsmith, but the fact that they are so egotistical against Pick 10 to the point where they're just going to completely shove it aside and shove all the developers' opinions aside as well, just because they think, right? They think Gunsmith is better. It's just so disgusting to me. It must really suck working on Call of Duty. That's all I gotta say. I can only imagine being a dev working on that game and having no creative freedom. Your voice means absolutely nothing. You are irrelevant. You are just there to pump the game out. All these other games, even some of the AAA games, like Battlefield, for example, as well. I bet you Battlefield 6 was probably a blast to work on. I mean, the whole game from the foundation was built off of the developers going back to all the classics, playing the classics, finding out what was the best of the best, the worst of the worst, and just combining ideas and pushing the game out there. That must have been amazing. That must have been a blast. And then you go over to COD, and you have a bunch of people at the top saying, this is how this game will turn out. And you have you're irrelevant. As I stated, your opinion means nothing. That just must suck. I can only imagine how awful that must be. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, it's not the end of the world just yet, because he did go ahead and state, just for the time being. Who knows what that means, though? I still think in the back of my head that Gunsmith is only still extremely relevant because of the Pick 10 system, and they just don't want to go ahead and try to incorporate a system across the board for all different Call of Duty games that's going to kind of separate itself from Warzone. They want it to all intertwine very nicely. How you make your classes in Warzone is how exactly you make your classes when it comes down to the multiplayer experience. And it's just another curse of the Warzone side of things, which still worries me till this very day about Battlefield 6 as well, trying to introduce a Battle Royale into their experience. You see, for Battlefield 5, it flopped, so the whole time was spent on them trying to fix up multiplayer. But this time around, who knows? It might be the most popular thing ever, and that might seriously put bad influence on the 64-player conquest side of the game. Only time will tell. But seriously, hopefully at some point in time we see Pick 10 make a return, along with a lot of other things. There's a lot of things I want to, it's like a whole different video topic I want to discuss with you guys, because there's so many things I want to see return in the, within the Call of Duty formula. But Pick 10 is a very easy one that won't be very controversial, one that won't cause a lot of pain within the community. It's something that's simple, that would bring in a lot of hype, and I can't understand why they would want to go ahead and actively ignore it. But, ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a dislike. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. I post your daily at 8 in the morning Eastern Time. Sometimes we go ahead and double upload at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Everything between COD, Battlefield, Splitgate 2, Arc Raiders, and any other shooter that, kind of sparks my interest. So, of course, if you guys are interested in any of that content, subscribe and hit that bell. And last but not least, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch, starting between 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, if you guys are interested, go link that channel down in the description of this video. But as always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.